Good afternoon, folks. This thing never is where I thought it should be. Anyway, still down in the workshop, or I'm down in the workshop again, down in the basement where it's cool. It's still hot outside. Not as hot as yesterday. Little update on my light situation. I cemented all the pads yesterday and put pressure on them, and figured, well, I'll wait till they harden up before I do the rest. So I just did that. I just put this on, and a little update. These little rubber pad, yeah, epoxy didn't. That's too flexible, I guess. Epoxy didn't stick to that at all. The one up inside seems secure, so I'm not going to mess with that. And this is going to be secure once it hardens. It's got a one little bolt with Loctite on it and a lock washer, and the base is epoxied to the clamp. And these rubber pads are just so you don't scar your boat's finish up anyway. If your boat doesn't look like much, you don't care. And in the process of figuring out if I want to put this straight or at an angle or whatever, because it won't clamp right straight onto the front of my canoe, because the fiberglass inside the canoe is too close to this. It won't tighten up, or it won't fit. So then it dawned on me, oh, I know what that little removable base is. You can mount that directly. It's got two little holes in it. You can put two screws in it directly to the front deck on your canoe, if you should choose to do that, which I had it all cemented in place before I thought about that anyway, but I wouldn't do that regardless, because it would be certainly broken loading and unloading on the back of the car, on the top of the car. And so it's like, no, that wouldn't survive being there permanently, and I don't want to put it on, take it off, put it on. That's bad enough. I got to deal with this. Anyway, so the project is done. That's all cemented, all epoxied together. This part is all epoxied together with a screw and a lock washer and Loctite, and we'll be good to go if we want to go out at night. So that's that project. Just let that harden up. I'll figure out some other way to stick those flexible pads on. Maybe just some double stick. I've got some double stick Gorilla Tape. That's great stuff. I think it's over here in one of my cabinets. I can use that. Nothing pull that off. Anyway, I've got a new book I'm going to. Actually, I've had this for a few years now, and didn't read it. Psalms, the Prayer Book of the Bible by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I read Eric Metaxas's biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's a big, thick book. This is nothing compared to that biography. Fantastic biography. You could probably buy a used one at a yard sale for $1 now. I paid, I don't know how much for mine, and I've passed it on to somebody else. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was back in World War II. He was a pastor in Germany during World War II, or at the beginning of whatever. Yeah, during World War II. He was hung for whatever manufactured crimes that came up with him, against him. Anyway, my sister read this book recently and has recommended it to several people who have all thanked her for writing. I've had this on my shelf, and I read another one of his books. I think it was called Living Together, and I thought it was about church life type of thing. Well, it wasn't. It was more about monastic life, and he and a bunch of his disciples, so to speak, men, were living in a retreat together as he taught them, as they all discussed scripture and spirituality and so on. That didn't impress me too much, so I just kind of stopped reading. I've got a couple others. The Cost of Discipleship, which is a bigger book. Cost of Discipleship and Ethics. And depending on how I'm blessed by Psalms, which I expect I will be. My sister knows good reading when she reads it, and I'm glad she recommended it. It prompted me to pull it off my bookshelf and dig into it. I expect to be impressed with this. I will probably go on to read both those other books too in time, and I expect to be impressed with those as well. So that's my new reading list, along with scripture. We've been listening to Chuck Missler and some of his end time event type ideas. We'll talk to you later about that. Have a good afternoon.